Way back in 2020, the New York Rangers traded away one of their top prospects in Lias Andersson for a second-round pick from the LA Kings, who ended up becoming a very valuable player on this New York Rangers squad right now. He's a very young player, but a very good player, and definitely a very impactful player, and is definitely a big part of this future going forward for the New York Rangers. So in this video, we're going to kind of take a look kind of what happened leading up to this trade here, kind of why Lias Andersson, the former 7th overall pick, was moved. Obviously picked up that first-round pick from Arizona way back when in that Derek Stepan deal, we were sending him over, as well as sending over Antti Ranta. And I believe Tony DeAngelo came over with him as well alongside that first-round pick. So very interesting trade there, obviously a very long time ago. But we're going to take a look kind of what happened here. Lias Andersson going over to the LA Kings for that 60th overall pick and who that became. And that player was Will Cuylle, a very obviously impactful player right now on this team. He's playing a very good role on that third line there. He's been a very impactful player, especially as a rookie, leading the rookie in hits. He's been, flying around out there, being that very good physical player that he is. So let's take a look here, kind of starting off, though, at Lias Andersson. Obviously, he hasn't quite been able to really crack the NHL rosters yet. I mean, he hasn't been a mainstay there. He has had some games here and there as well at the NHL level, but over his entire NHL career so far, he has a total of 110 games played, 7 goals, 10 assists for 17 points, and is a .32. And he has been a pretty good player in the AHL, putting up some pretty good numbers, and he still is 25 years old, 6 foot, 185-pound center. Not too bad there. He's still only 25 in his mid-20s. He's not like he's old, but he's definitely not some young prospect anymore. And he obviously only has 17 points in 110 games played, which, let's be honest here, that is not good by any means. So this is a guy who may not end up having that great NHL career, but definitely can be a guy who's probably, I would imagine, probably going to go over to Sweden at some point. Maybe go back over there if he can't crack the NHL level over here and he's just kind of stuck in the AHL. He very well just could end up going back over to Sweden if he can't quite crack the NHL, but we'll have to wait and see. And the main reason kind of why Lias Andersson was traded away, because obviously you never want to move your 7th overall pick. You expect him to be a pretty big part of your franchise, but Lias didn't want to really go down there to the Hartford Wolfpack in the AHL, so he ended up going over to Sweden. He wanted to return there, so the team ended up suspending him, and then obviously things just kind of didn't go well from there, and then obviously ended up getting moved to the Los Angeles Kings for a second-round pick, which obviously ended up being a pretty decent player. Carrying on now, though, and taking a look at Will Cuylle, who was the actual player that we got in this deal. So back then, January 26th of 2020, the Rangers ended up trading away Lias Andersson, the prospect, for a second-round pick, which was the Vegas Golden Knights' second-round pick. So it ended up being the 60th overall pick in the 2020 draft. And that wasn't bad at all. This ended up being a very, very good trade for the New York Rangers, picking up a very important player on this team. Will Cuylle, he may not be the highest skilled player in the world. He's not going to be, some point per game kind of guy, but he's going to be a very good middle six winger who can play with a lot of physicality. He can scrap a bit. He can, fight in the dirty areas. He can lay the body a lot. He's going to play a very physical game, but he's also got, some all right hands, decent playmaking skills. He's not like a bad offensive player by any means. He's good in his own zone. One day could be maybe getting more of a kind of look on the PK potentially. That's definitely a possibility. But for right now, I think he's doing fine for his role right now. But he's definitely a guy who plays a good all-around game, good two-way player, has some offensive skill. Obviously, this year we haven't quite seen a lot of that, but he definitely has some. I mean, you take a look at the junior level and stuff like that with the Windsor Spitfire and stuff. He's had some great years with them. Obviously, doesn't mean a whole lot coming to the NHL level, but still, he's had some good years there. He's obviously a talented player, skilled offensive guy, just not quite an elite offensive threat, but did have a great year last year with the Hartford Wolfpack having 45 points in 69 games played. This year with the Rangers having 66 games played, 11 goals, 8 assists, 19 points. He's having a pretty good year. Offensively, the numbers are not amazing, obviously, but he's still a very good player, an all-around great hockey player, and definitely an important player on this team. Obviously, that trade was very interesting at the time. I mean, I was personally a big fan of it. I thought this was a great trade. I mean, Lias Andersson, I was a huge fan of when he was drafted, but you could obviously see the issues that were coming up in the organization, and things just weren't quite working right with Lias Andersson in this organization. So it made sense why this was a move, obviously, and I'm glad they obviously made that move before his value sunk too much. I mean, I thought getting a second-round pick was pretty good value at the time for what things were going on and stuff like that. It seemed like the value there that the Rangers got, that second-round pick, was pretty good and obviously ended up being a pretty great player for this team, so that's very nice to see. At least, there was a fairly recent draft pick there that ended up becoming a very good player the Rangers developed, obviously had one season back in junior after he was drafted, playing with the Windsor Spitfire, putting up some incredible numbers. He had a total of 59 games played as a captain, 43 goals, 37 assists for 80 points in 59 games played. He was an absolute monster in that season. And then you also take a look at the playoffs there, where he ended up captaining his team, being a huge part of that team in the playoffs. I watched a ton of that playoff run. Same thing with Brennan Othman, as they both met. Brennan Othman with the Flint Firebirds and Will Cuylle on the Windsor Spitfire. They both met in the Western Conference Finals. That was such a fun series to watch. Windsor ends up winning it there. Will Cuylle moves on to the OHL Finals, where they ended up losing in Game 6 to the Hamilton Bulldogs, who were an absolute wagon of a team that year. I remember that playoff run there. It was a ton of fun to watch. And he did put up, 25 games played, 15 goals, 16 assists for 31 points, and was a plus 20 in that playoff run. He was a monster, and he also ended up winning the gold medal with the U20 Team Canada squad at the World Junior Championships. He had 7 games played there, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. He was phenomenal there as well. So just an all-around great player. Has some good offensive talent, can play a very physical role. He's going to be a great middle six winger for years and years to come, and I'm definitely very happy that the Rangers drafted this guy and ended up developing him and actually turning him into something quite good. Anyways, though, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please smash the like button. Don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on this video, as well as don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for daily New York Rangers content.